Billionaires are quietly staging a financial escape. Right now, the ultra-rich are secretly moving their money out of your country, and you likely had no idea. In 2025 alone, a record 142,000 millionaires are relocating across borders, the largest wealth flight in modern history. What do they know that we don't? Today, you'll find out why this silent exodus is happening and why it matters to you right now. Stick with me for the next few minutes, and you'll discover where the ultra-rich are quietly stashing their billions, why they're fleeing now, and how it could affect your future. This isn't just another rich get richer story. It's a hidden shift that could shake up your economy. By the end, you'll know the real reasons behind this wealth migration and how you might need to prepare. The Great Wealth Exodus. Approximately 142,000 millionaires will relocate in 2025, the most ever recorded in a single year. This mass migration of wealth is being called the largest voluntary transfer of private capital in modern history. The UK, for example, is losing about 16,500 millionaires in 2025, taking an estimated £66 billion, approximately 92 billion American dollars in assets with them. That's money pulled out of British banks, businesses, and real estate virtually overnight, a phenomenon dubbed Wexit, also known as wealth exit. When crisis hits, the rich flee first. Russia saw around 15,000 millionaires, 15% of its rich, bolt in 2022 after the Ukraine invasion. As one analyst noted, wealthy emigration is an early warning sign. Major national crises are often preceded by the wealthy leaving, since they have the means to escape. Here is an example for this. Picture a hedge fund manager in London quietly liquidating assets, selling his mansion, then wiring £50 million to a Zurich bank. Next week, he's on a one-way flight to Dubai with a new residency visa. Multiply that scenario by thousands. That's what the Great Wealth Exodus looks like. Discreet phone calls to offshore bankers, encrypted emails arranging fund transfers, and private jets departing in the dead of night. All under the radar, until the dust settles and billions have vanished from the local economy. Why the rich are fleeing now. Sudden rule changes send rich capital running. In the UK, killing the investor visa and tightening tax loopholes triggered a stampede. When a government starts raising taxes on wealth or ending special regimes like Britain's non-dom tax break, the ultra-wealthy don't stick around to find out what's next. They quietly move their money, and often themselves, to friendlier shores. After the tumultuous 2024 US election, something surprising happened. Wealthy Americans started looking for the exit. In first quarter of 2025, Americans made up over 30% of all investment migration applications worldwide, a 200% jump from the year prior. Translation: a lot of millionaires suddenly want a plan B. Whether it's fear of civil unrest, future wealth taxes, or another lockdown, the rich are hedging against uncertainty by securing offshore havens. Dual citizenship, once a luxury, is becoming the new American dream. In China, President Xi's Common Prosperity campaign and strict COVID policies spooked many affluent citizens. Singapore has seen a fresh influx of rich Chinese families since 2021. One 26-year-old heir told Reuters he enrolled in a Singapore university mainly to gain residency, while his wife was out viewing a $5 million penthouse. He said simply, "Singapore is stable and offers a lot of opportunities." When a nation's own millionaires start losing patience, whether due to draconian lockdowns or anti-rich rhetoric, they vote with their wallets and leave. Nothing triggers wealth flight like war. We saw it in Russia, 2020, and tragically in Ukraine, where an estimated 42% of Ukraine's millionaires fled in the year after the invasion. The ultra-rich interpret conflict as get out now signals. They'll swiftly shift assets to safe jurisdictions at the first whiff of sanctions or instability. Here's another example. Imagine you're a business owner in an unstable country. Protests erupt downtown. A new law is rumored to seize excess wealth for redistribution. What do? If you're ultra-rich, you already had a contingency. Last year, you opened an account in Singapore and secured a golden visa in Portugal. Overnight, you wire funds abroad and hop on a plane with your family. While everyone else is stuck in the crisis, your money and you are safe in a wealth haven. This isn't hypothetical. It's exactly how the rich react when the writing's on the wall. One wealth manager noted, affluent individuals have been emigrating, an early warning sign of problems. The wealthy are often the first to leave. Where the money's going, safe havens and secret paths. You might call it new wealth havens. Follow the money and it lands in a handful of safe haven hotspots. The United Arab Emirates is booming, expected to attract 9,800 millionaires in 2025, bringing in an astounding $63 billion in wealth. That makes the UAE the #1 destination for migrating millionaires, ahead of even the US and UK. Switzerland, of course, remains a fortress for offshore cash. It still manages about $2.1 trillion in foreign assets for wealthy clients, the largest offshore wealth stash in the world. Other magnets include Singapore, Monaco, and emerging players like Mauritius, all offering political stability and investor-friendly laws, golden visas and passports. The ultra-rich aren't sneaking in, they're buying their way in, legally. 9 of the top 10 wealth destinations run investment migration programs, essentially golden visas or passports for cash. For example, invest 1 to 2 million in Portugal or Greece, and you can obtain residency and eventually an EU passport. Or donate to a Caribbean nation and get a passport in months. Malta's citizenship by investment brought in 300 new millionaires in 2022 alone. The wealthy have turned second citizenships into insurance policies. Henley and Partners, a firm that brokers these deals, even notes that Caribbean passports and New Zealand investor visas are hot commodities now. It's a quiet exodus through paperwork and wire transfers, not boats in the night, family offices and trusts. For moving money itself, the playbook includes offshore trusts, shell companies, and private family offices. Singapore's family offices doubled in just a few years to accommodate surging Chinese wealth. In practice, that means a billionaire sets up a personal investment company in Singapore or the Cayman Islands, hires lawyers and bankers, and channels funds through it. These structures obscure ownership and often come with big tax benefits. By the time regulators back home notice capital draining, it's already sitting safely in a Zurich vault or a Cayman trust fund. Here is an example for it. Consider tech entrepreneur Anna. She's worried about her home country's future, so she quietly creates a web of safety nets. First, she acquires a St. Kitts passport, Caribbean citizenship, as a backup. Then she opens a family office in Dubai, hiring advisors to manage her investments tax-free. She buys an apartment in Singapore for residency security. Her 200 million moves across borders in bits and pieces. A real estate purchase here, a private investment fund there. Each step is totally legal and almost invisible. To the outside world, Anna still lives at home. But if crisis hits, she can disappear overnight, with multiple passports and most of her fortune already abroad. The fallout? Who wins? Who loses? Home countries losing out? When billionaires bail, the rest feel the pain. The capital that leaves could have funded startups, jobs, and taxes at home. For instance, Britain's £66 billion wealth exodus means less investment in local businesses and a hole in future tax revenues. In developing countries, rich flight can weaken currency and investor confidence, a slow bleed that hurts growth. It's like the canary in the coal mine. If you see the wealthy quietly rolling their suitcases out, your economy might be headed for trouble. Havens cashing in. On the flip side, the countries receiving this wealth often get an economic jolt. The UAE's 63 billion millionaire influx is fueling a property and finance boom in Dubai and Abu Dhabi. Winner countries gain top talent and capital, boosting their real estate, financial services, and luxury sectors. Of course, this can also overheat housing markets. Ask locals in Dubai or Singapore about soaring rents. Rising inequality and public anger. The sight of tycoons moving money abroad rubs salt in the wound of inequality. It's like they have an escape hatch while everyone else stays to face the music. This can stoke public resentment. People ask, are the rich paying their fair share or just running away from responsibility? When governments see wealth pouring out, They may respond with stricter capital controls or higher taxes on those who remain, which sometimes backfires and drives out even more wealth. Global ripple effects. Massive capital shifts can even sway global markets. Trillions in offshore accounts chase the next safe asset, possibly inflating bubbles in assets like prime real estate, art, or crypto. And consider this irony. The United States, often lecturing on tax fairness, has become a tax haven itself for foreign fortunes. Thanks to certain laws, the US doesn't share foreigners' bank info globally. In a globalized world, money finds the path of least resistance. That can lead to a kind of race to the bottom. Countries slashing taxes and courting billionaires to prevent their own wealth exodus. Another example for you. Think of your country as a ship and wealth as passengers. When calm, everyone's on deck. But if the ship starts looking shaky, the first to jump into lifeboats are the ones with yachts waiting nearby. Those left on the ship, average citizens, not only face the storm, they also have fewer resources on board. Meanwhile, the yachts sail off to sunnier harbors, the havens. The message it sends is damning. The people who know the financial system best have lost some faith in their own country. That's a wake-up call for policymakers and the public alike. Now, here's the uncomfortable question. Are the ultra-rich actually doing something smart that the rest of us should admire, or something selfish we should condemn? Some experts argue that billionaires moving their money abroad are simply reacting rationally to protect their assets from hostile politics or instability. After all, if a government threatened your life savings, wouldn't you find a safe haven? They point to history. Wealthy families fleeing inflation in Latin America or conflicts in Europe often survived because they stashed money overseas. From this angle, the rich aren't traders. They're savvy risk managers, keeping capital alive, which could even come back to invest another day. And by voting with their feet, they pressure governments to improve. In theory, countries that overtax or mistreat wealth will either reform or keep losing wealth. This kind of wealth flight can look an awful lot like abandoning your community. When the ultra-rich quietly pull billions, regular people are left holding the bag. Public services lose funding, economies suffer, inequality widens. Critics say these billionaires benefit from everything their country gave them: infrastructure, education, stability, and then bail when it's payback time, taxes, or crisis. It's seen as elitist and unpatriotic. Should we really applaud that? Plus, not everyone can move their money. Most folks are stuck dealing with problems at home, while the rich escape to tropical islands with zero taxes. Proponents of free markets rebut that capital doesn't have a nationality. Money goes where it's treated best, period. If we want it to stay, make home attractive for investment, and they argue, clamping down or vilifying the rich will only drive them and their capital away faster. On the other hand, advocates for fairness retort that if too much wealth flees, perhaps nations should cooperate on global rules. For example, closing tax loopholes, or even exit taxes for those who move money out. The debate is fiery. Heroic capitalism versus social responsibility. Where you fall on it might depend on whether you have a yacht ready to go. So, what's the lesson here for the rest of us who aren't billionaires? Pay attention to the signals. When you see record numbers of millionaires quietly leaving, it's a sign something's off. It could be a warning about your country's economic future, or a hint at big policy changes coming. You don't need to panic, but it might be wise to diversify your own finances a bit. That could mean investing globally instead of just at home, or even researching a second residency if you have the means, not to escape your country, but to have options. The ultra-rich always have a plan B. Maybe you can't buy a Maltese passport, but you can ensure your retirement savings aren't all in one country or one currency. On a bigger scale, this trend forces a question. How do we make our home economies worth staying in? The takeaway for policymakers is clear. If you create a hostile environment for capital through instability or extreme taxes without value, money will find a way out. The best strategy to keep wealth from fleeing is to give it reasons to stay. A stable economy, fair and predictable rules, and a sense that investing at home is safe and rewarding. For everyone else, the strategy is to stay informed. The financial moves of the ultra-rich can signal where the world is heading. Think of it as following the smart money, not because they're morally right, but because they often move before everyone else sees the storm. In short, money is more mobile than ever. That's the new reality. Use that knowledge to make sure you're not the last one clinging to a sinking ship if things go south, but also to push for changes that keep our shared ship afloat. If you found this eye-opening, hit that subscribe button for more deep dives into the secret moves of money and power. Don't get left in the dark while the elite play chess with their wealth. Join our community and stay a step ahead. Now, I really want to hear what you think. Are billionaires who move their billions abroad traders or just smart investors? Drop a comment and let's get this debate going. Do you feel angry, or do you maybe empathize with their reasons? No answer is too spicy. Keep it respectful and let's talk. Before you go, remember, today was about where the rich are moving their money. Next up, we're exposing what the ultra-rich are secretly buying to protect themselves next. Hint, it's something tangible and might even affect what you pay for groceries. Stay tuned for our next video. You won't want to miss this one.